They say a man doesn't just vanish. But I did. Left everything behind at 3 a.m. without a trace. My wife searched hospitals, morgues, hired investigators. Found nothing. Because I wasn't lost. I was reborn. And when she finally tracked me down 2 years later, she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her. My name's Daniel Hartley. I'm 42 years old, and I used to be a senior financial analyst at Crowley & Associates downtown. Used to be a husband, too. Used to be a lot of things before that Tuesday in March when everything I thought I knew turned to ash. I remember standing at the kitchen sink that night, scrubbing marinara sauce off a plate that didn't want to come clean. The dishwasher hummed behind me. Renee sat at the table, swirling what was left of her third glass of Chardonnay. Her voice cut through the quiet like a dull blade. "God, you really know how to kill a mood, don't you?" she said with a laugh that had no warmth in it. I kept scrubbing. Didn't turn around. Didn't respond. "What is it this time?" she continued. "Did I forget to praise your little Excel report? Or maybe I didn't ask about your thrilling meeting with Harold from accounting." I set the plate down carefully in the rack. My hand was steady. That surprised me. "You've been moping around here for weeks," Renee added, her tone shifting from mockery to irritation. "It's exhausting, Dan. Seriously. Grow up." I dried my hands on the towel. Slowly. Methodically. Then I walked past her without a word, climbed the stairs, and lay down in the guest bedroom. The one I'd been sleeping in for the past 6 months. She didn't follow. She never did. Through the floor, I could hear her pouring another glass. The TV clicked on. Some reality show with people screaming at each other. Fitting. I stared at the ceiling and thought about the accident. The motorcycle wreck when I was 24 that shattered my pelvis and left me with a choice no man should have to make. Surgery saved my life, but took away any chance of having kids. Renee knew that when we got married. She said it didn't matter. She already had Jay and Sophie from her first husband. That was enough, she said. But it mattered to me, and she knew it, which is why her jokes about it at dinner parties stung like they did. "Oh, Dan's shooting blanks," she'd say with a grin, like it was the punchline to some hilarious story. I heard her footsteps on the stairs around midnight. Heard her stumble into the master bedroom and shut the door. The house went quiet. At 2 in the morning, I got up, dressed in the dark, grabbed the emergency cash I'd hidden in the garage toolbox. $12,000 in hundreds. My identification stayed in the drawer. Credit cards went into the garbage disposal. I took one thing with me. A photo of my grandfather standing in front of his hardware store in 1959. Back when men built things with their hands and didn't apologize for existing. By 3, I was gone. The Greyhound station smelled like stale coffee and diesel fumes. I sat in the back corner, ball cap pulled low, watching people come and go. Nobody looked at me twice. That's the thing about bus stations. Everyone's running from something or towards something. Nobody asks questions. I left my car in the long-term lot at the airport 3 towns over. Let Renee find it there. Let her think I'd flown somewhere. Let her think whatever she wanted. The truth was simpler and more calculated than she'd ever imagined. I bought a ticket to Memphis under a name I hadn't used since college. Ryan Cooper. It was the alias I'd created years ago for a fantasy football league, back when I still had friends who invited me to things. The ID was fake, sure, but good enough for a bus ride. I'd paid cash to a guy in a truck stop parking lot who specialized in second chances. $200 and 20 minutes later, Ryan Cooper existed. The bus rolled out at dawn. I didn't sleep. Just watched the highway unroll through the scratched window, mile markers ticking past like a countdown. Every mile between me and that house felt like a layer of skin peeling away. Raw, but necessary. By the time we hit Memphis, I made my first decision. No phones, no emails, no digital footprint. I bought a prepaid flip phone at a corner store, activated it with a fake name, and threw my old smartphone into the Mississippi River from a bridge overlook. Watched it sink into the brown water like an anchor. Then I caught another bus. This one to Little Rock. Then another to Tulsa. Each transfer, each ticket bought with cash, each new face in each new station. I was unraveling the thread that tied me to Daniel Hartley, one snip at a time. 3 days in, I sat in a diner off Route 40, somewhere in Oklahoma, where the land stretched flat and empty as my bank account was about to be. I ordered black coffee and toast, spread my notebook on the table, and started writing. Page 1. Assets. The house, the cars, the joint accounts. I'd already signed everything over to Renee through a lawyer I'd contacted a week before I left. Paid him in cash, never met him face to face. Everything legal, everything notarized, everything clean. She'd get the paperwork in a few days. Page 2, employment. I'd resigned via encrypted email through a library computer 2 days before my departure. Effective immediately. My boss probably thought I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. Page 3, identity. Social security number, driver's license, credit history. All of it would go dormant. No new activity. No flags. Just a man who stopped existing. The waitress refilled my coffee without asking. She had tired eyes and a name tag that said Brenda. "You okay, hon?" she asked. I nodded. "Just passing through." "Aren't we all?" she said, and moved on to the next table. I stared at the notebook, at the lists, at the careful dismantling of a life that had stopped being mine years ago. And for the first time since I'd left, I felt something other than numbness. I felt free. By week 2, I'd landed in a town called Riverside. Population 8,000. The kind of place where the main street had more empty storefronts than open ones. And the biggest employer was a chicken processing plant on the edge of town. Nobody knew me. Nobody cared. Perfect. I walked into a diner called Betty's and asked if they needed help. The owner, a barrel-chested man named Frank with a gray beard and suspicious eyes, looked me up and down. "You got experience?" Frank asked. "I can wash dishes," I said. "You running from the law?" "No, sir." Frank studied me for another long moment. Then he nodded. $10 an hour. Cash. No questions. Deal. And just like that, Ryan Cooper had a job. Renee didn't notice I was gone until almost noon the next day. She thought I'd left early for work like I always did. It wasn't until she called my office around 11:30, asking to speak with me about some credit card charge she didn't recognize, that reality started to set in. My assistant, Karen, told her I'd resigned. Effective immediately. "What do you mean, resigned?" Renee's voice had gone shrill. I heard later from a friend who still worked there. "He didn't say anything to me." Karen, bless her, had simply said, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Hartley. That's all the information I have." By that evening, Renee was calling my cell phone. Straight to voicemail. She tried texting. No response. She checked the garage. My car was gone. She checked our bank accounts online. Everything had been legally transferred to her name. The house, the cars, every cent in her joint savings. That's when the panic set in. She called her sister first, then her mother, then started working through my limited circle of friends. Nobody had heard from me. Nobody knew where I'd gone. By midnight, she was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open, searching for answers in emails that no longer existed and text threads that had been deleted. The next morning, she drove to the airport, found my car sitting in long-term parking, locked and empty. No note, no sign of struggle, just an abandoned vehicle that told her nothing except that I'd wanted her to find it there. She called the police that afternoon. The officer who took her statement was polite but detached. "Has your husband shown any signs of depression?" he asked. "No," Renee said quickly, then hesitated. "I mean, he's been quiet lately, but that's just Dan. He's always quiet. Any financial troubles? Gambling? Substance abuse?" "No, nothing like that." "Did you two have a fight?" Renee paused. "We had words. Nothing serious." The officer wrote something down. "Ma'am, your husband is an adult. He resigned from his job, transferred his assets to you legally, and left his car in a public place. There's no evidence of foul play or a mental health crisis. Sometimes people just need space." "Space." Renee's voice rose. "He didn't take space. He disappeared. Not if he planned it," the officer said gently. Over the next 2 weeks, Renee became frantic. She called shelters across 3 states, checked hospitals, even called the county morgue twice, asking if any unidentified bodies matching my description had come in. Nothing. She hired a private investigator, a retired cop named Gerald Simmons, who charged $200 an hour and promised results. 3 weeks later, Simmons sat across from her in a coffee shop, sliding a thin folder across the table. "That's everything?" Renee asked, staring at the folder like it had betrayed her. "That's everything," Simmons said. "Your husband didn't just leave, Mrs. Hartley. He erased himself. No credit card activity. No new employment records. No tax filings. He's either dead or he's the most thorough ghost I've ever tracked." "He's not dead," Renee said flatly. Then he doesn't want to be found. She searched shelters, hospitals, morgues. Hired a private investigator. Got nothing. And somewhere out there, I'd become a ghost. But not a lost one. A ghost with a purpose. The work at Betty's Diner wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. I showed up at 5 in the morning, scrubbed pots until my hands were raw, mopped floors until they gleamed, and kept my head down. Frank paid me in cash every Friday. No questions asked. It was exactly what I needed. But I wasn't content to just wash dishes forever. Every night after my shift, I'd sit in the corner booth with a cup of coffee and a notebook. I studied zoning laws, real estate markets, tax codes. I'd spent 20 years analyzing financial data for other people. Now I was doing it for myself. Frank noticed. One night, about a month in, he slid into the booth across from me. "You're not just a dishwasher, are you?" Frank said, nodding at my notebook. I shrugged. "I'm whatever I need to be." "You got a past." "Doesn't everyone?" Frank chuckled. "Fair enough. But if you're sticking around, I could use someone who knows numbers. My bookkeeper quit last month, and I'm drowning in receipts." I looked up. "You offer me a job?" "I'm offering you more money." "Interested?" I closed my notebook. "Yeah, I'm interested." Within 2 months, I wasn't just washing dishes. I was managing inventory, negotiating with suppliers, and finding ways to save Frank money he didn't know he was losing. He started trusting me with more. Bank deposits, payroll, even hire me to help him file his taxes. "You're good at this," Frank said one evening, looking over the numbers I put together. "Real good. You ever think about doing it for yourself?" "Maybe," I said. "Someday." That someday came sooner than I expected. A man walked into Betty's one Tuesday night. Well-dressed, late 50s, with the kind of confidence that comes from money. He ordered a burger and sat at the counter, reading a real estate journal. I refilled his coffee without being asked. He glanced up. "You always read your customers' materials?" he asked, not unkindly. "Only when it's interesting," I said. He smiled. "You know real estate?" "Enough to know when a market's undervalued." That got his attention. We talked for an hour. His name was Gerald Whitman, and he ran a small investment firm specializing in distressed properties. He bought low, renovated, and flipped. He was careful, methodical, and always looking for an edge. "You've got an eye for this," Gerald said finally. "If you're ever looking for work, give me a call." He handed me his card. I took it. 3 days later, I called him. And just like that, Ryan Cooper wasn't just a dishwasher anymore. He was an investor. 6 months into my new life, I'd become someone I barely recognized. Ryan Cooper wasn't just a name on a fake ID anymore. He was real. He had a job with Gerald Whitman's firm, analyzing properties and finding opportunities nobody else saw. I'd helped close 3 deals already, each one more profitable than the last. Gerald started introducing me to his partners as the guy with the golden eye. But success came with visibility, and visibility was dangerous. I was careful, kept my beard trimmed, but not too neat. Wore glasses I didn't need. Changed my walk, my posture, even the way I held a coffee cup. Small things that added up to a different person. But every time I walked into a public place, every time someone looked at me a second too long, my chest tightened. One afternoon, I was at a property showing in Little Rock when I saw her. A woman about Renee's age, same build, same way of holding her purse. My heart stopped. I ducked behind a column, watching as she walked past. Not Renee, just someone who looked like her from behind. I left the showing early, drove back to Riverside, and sat in my apartment for 3 hours staring at the wall. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the building, every car, door slamming outside, sent my nerves into overdrive. The next morning, I called Gerald. "I need to ask you something," I said. "Shoot, if someone came looking for me, asking questions, would you tell them anything?" Gerald was quiet for a moment. "Ryan, I don't know what you're running from, and I don't need to. But I'll say this. I've been in this business 30 years. I know when a man's starting over, and I know when to keep my mouth shut. Nobody's getting information from me." I exhaled. "Thanks. Just keep doing good work," Gerald said. "That's all I care about." But the paranoia didn't leave. A week later, I was at Betty's Diner, grabbing lunch before a meeting, when Frank pulled me aside. "Some guy was in here yesterday," Frank said quietly, "asking about you." My blood went cold. "What kind of guy?" "50s, cheap suit, had that cop vibe. Said he was looking for someone who might have passed through." "Show me a picture." "Of me?" Of Daniel Hartley, Frank said, watching my face. Didn't look much like you, though. I told him I'd never seen the guy. I gripped the edge of the counter. Thanks, Frank. Ryan, Frank said, his voice low. I don't know who you were, but I know who you are now. And that's enough for me. I nodded, too shaken to speak. That night, I sat in my apartment with my notebook open, staring at the list I'd made 6 months ago. The life I'd dismantled, the identity I'd erased. And for the first time since I'd left, I wondered if Renee was still looking, or if she'd moved on, the way I was trying to. Either way, I couldn't go back. Ryan Cooper was who I was now, and Daniel Hartley was never coming home. It arrived on a Tuesday, a plain envelope with no return address, forwarded through Gerald's business office. My name, Ryan Cooper, written in handwriting I didn't recognize. I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Typed. Professional. Mr. Cooper, my name is Sophie Steele. You knew me as your stepdaughter. I don't know if you'll read this, or if you even care, but I needed to try. Mom's falling apart. She won't admit it, but she is. Jay's in trouble. He got arrested for assault at a party. She can't afford a lawyer. She keeps asking where you are, and I don't know what to tell her. I'm not writing this to make you feel guilty. I know you left for a reason, but I miss you. You were the only one who ever treated me like I mattered. If you get this, just let me know you're okay. That's all I need. Sophie. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Sophie's face. 14 years old, quiet, always sitting beside me at dinner while Renee tore into me and Jay sneered from across the table. Sophie never joined in. She'd just sit there, eyes down, picking at her food like she wished she could disappear too. She'd been the only one who ever said goodnight to me. The only one who asked how my day was. The only one who looked hurt when Renee made jokes at my expense. And now she was reaching out. I wanted to respond. Wanted to tell her I was okay. That I was building something. That leaving wasn't about her. But I couldn't. Because responding meant opening a door I'd bolted shut. It meant risking everything I'd built. 2 days later, I was at a meeting with Gerald and a potential investor when my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Please. Just one word. Anything. Sophie. My hands went cold. I excused myself from the meeting, stepped outside, and stared at the message. She'd found my number somehow. Through Gerald's office, maybe. Or through Frank. It didn't matter. She'd found me. I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, I'm okay. Stay strong. I hit send before I could change my mind. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, thank you. That's all I needed. I put the phone away and went back inside. Gerald looked at me curiously, but didn't ask. The meeting continued, and I forced myself to focus. But my mind was somewhere else. On a 13-year-old girl who'd just gotten the only answer she needed. And on the man I used to be, who'd left her behind without a word. I told myself it was necessary. That I couldn't go back. That Sophie would be okay without me. But deep down, I wasn't sure I believed it. 14 months after I disappeared, Gerald invited me to a real estate summit in Nashville. High-level investors, developers, and venture capitalists. The kind of event where deals worth millions got made over cocktails and handshakes. I'd earned my place there. Ryan Cooper had a reputation now. But reputation came with exposure. I almost said no. But Gerald insisted. This is where you make connections that matter, he'd said. You've got the skills. Now you need the network. So I went. Grew my beard out longer. Wore different glasses. Kept my head down between sessions. The conference was massive. Hundreds of people moving through the convention center. I felt safe in the crowd. Until I saw her. Renee. Standing near the registration desk. Talking to a man in an expensive suit. My heart stopped. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, to walk away, to disappear back into the crowd. But I couldn't move. I just stood there, frozen, watching her from 50 feet away. She looked different. Thinner. Her hair was shorter, styled differently. But it was her. No doubt about it. Then I realized something. She wasn't here by accident. The man she was talking to was Gerald's business partner, Richard Cole. They were talking about me. I saw Richard gesture toward the conference hall, and Renee's eyes scanned the crowd. She was looking for me. I turned and walked quickly toward the side exit, keeping my face down. My hands were shaking. I made it outside, into the parking garage, and sat in my rental car with the doors locked. My phone rang. Gerald. Ryan, where are you? Gerald's voice was tense. I had to step out. What's going on? There's a woman here asking about you. Says her husband worked with Richard years ago. Says you look like someone she used to know. I told her she was mistaken, but she's persistent. I need to leave, I said. Ryan, listen to me, Gerald said, his voice dropping. If you run now, it looks suspicious. You've done nothing wrong. You're Ryan Cooper. You have paperwork, employment history, everything legitimate. She's grasping at shadows. Gerald, trust me, he said firmly. Come back inside. Act normal. If she approaches you, be polite but distant. Don't give her ammunition. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the concrete wall in front of me. Then I got out of the car and walked back inside. Renee was still there, but now she was talking to someone else. I kept my distance, moved through the crowd to the opposite side of the hall. I could feel her eyes scanning, searching, but I didn't look back. An hour later, she left. I saw her walk toward the exit, shoulders slumped, defeated. That night, Gerald and I had drinks at the hotel bar. She's not going to stop, I said quietly. Maybe not, Gerald said. But Ryan Cooper is real. Daniel Hartley is gone. And as long as you keep your head, she's chasing a ghost. But I knew the truth. Ghosts eventually get found. The question was whether I'd be ready when it happened. 2 months after Nashville, Sophie called. Not texted. Called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Ryan. Her voice was shaking. She'd started calling me Ryan after our first exchange. Like she understood I wasn't Daniel anymore. Sophie. What's wrong? It's Jay. He's in real trouble. The assault charge got upgraded. He could go to jail. Mom's trying to get money together for a lawyer, but she's broke. She sold the house. I closed my eyes. Sophie, I can't. I'm not asking you to come back, Sophie said quickly. I know you can't. But Jay's an idiot, and he's a jerk, but he's still just a kid. Mom's talking about taking out loans from people she shouldn't. Bad people. What do you want me to do? Can you help? Financially? I know it's asking a lot, but I don't know who else to call. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, staring at the wall of my apartment. Jay had spent years making my life hell, mocking me at the dinner table, breaking my things and blaming me, pushing me on the stairs and laughing when I nearly fell. But Sophie was asking, and Sophie had never asked me for anything. How much does she need? I asked. 10,000, maybe 15, for a decent lawyer. I exhaled. I'll send it, but not to her. I'll send it directly to the lawyer. You give me the name and address. Really? Sophie's voice broke. Ryan, thank you. Thank you so much. Sophie, I said quietly, this doesn't mean I'm coming back. You understand that, right? I know, she said, but you're still the best man I've ever known. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. Then I called Gerald. I need to wire some money, I said. For a lawyer. It's complicated. How complicated? Past life complicated. Gerald was quiet for a moment. You sure about this? No, I said, but I'm doing it anyway. 3 days later, Sophie texted me. The lawyer got the money. Jay's going to be okay. Mom doesn't know it came from you. She thinks it was a loan from her sister. Thank you. For everything. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted the thread and threw the burner phone in the trash. Daniel Hartley had helped his family one last time. But Ryan Cooper was done looking back. 2 years after I disappeared, an envelope arrived at Gerald's office. Cream-colored, expensive paper, my name written in elegant script. Ryan Cooper, not Daniel Hartley. Inside was an invitation to an exclusive real estate gala in Atlanta. Black tie, industry titans. The kind of event that could make or break careers. At the bottom, handwritten in blue ink, your presence is requested. I knew that handwriting. It was Renee's. She knows where I am, I said to Gerald, holding the invitation. Gerald examined it carefully. This is a power move. She's telling you she found you, but she's doing it publicly. At an event where you can't make a scene. Should I go? That depends, Gerald said. Are you afraid of her? I thought about that. 2 years ago, the answer would have been yes. Not physically afraid, but afraid of being pulled back into that life. Afraid of becoming invisible again. But I wasn't that man anymore. No, I said. I'm not afraid. Then go, Gerald said. Face her on your terms. Show her who you've become. The gala was everything I expected. Chandeliers, champagne, men in $1,000 suits making $1 million deals. I arrived alone, beard trimmed sharp, wearing a tailored suit I'd bought specifically for this. Ryan Cooper belonged here. Daniel Hartley never could have. I saw Renee almost immediately. She was standing near the bar, wearing a black dress, talking to a group of investors. She looked up, and our eyes met across the room. She didn't approach. Not right away. She let me circulate, let me work the room, let me show everyone there that I was somebody. It wasn't until an hour later, when I stepped out onto the terrace for air, that she followed. Daniel, she said. I turned slowly. That's not my name anymore. She laughed, but it was hollow. Right. Ryan Cooper. Very creative. What do you want, Renee? I want to understand, she said. And for the first time, I heard something in her voice I'd never heard before. Vulnerability. Why did you leave? Was I really that terrible? I looked at her for a long moment. You made me invisible. Every joke at my expense. Every time you rolled your eyes when I tried to talk. Every dinner party where you turned my pain into entertainment. You didn't hit me. You didn't cheat. But you erased me, piece by piece, until there was nothing left. I didn't mean. Yes, you did, I said quietly. You meant every word. Because it made you feel powerful. Renee's eyes glistened. I've been falling apart without you. The house is gone. Jay's a mess. Sophie barely talks to me. I thought if I could just find you, if I could just explain. Explain what? I asked. That you're sorry? That you didn't realize what you were doing? Yes, she whispered. I don't believe you, I said. And even if I did, it doesn't matter. I'm not coming back. I see that, Renee said, looking at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You're different. You're alive, I said. For the first time in years, I'm actually alive. She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her face. Sophie told me you helped with Jay's lawyer. She doesn't know I know, but I figured it out. Thank you for that. I didn't do it for you, I said. I did it for her. I know, Renee said. Can I ask you something? What? Are you happy? I thought about my life. The work I did with Gerald. The properties we developed. The respect I'd earned. The man I'd become. Yes, I said. I am. Renee wiped her eyes. Then I guess this is goodbye. It was goodbye 2 years ago, I said. This is just the epilogue. She turned and walked back inside. I stayed on the terrace, watching the city lights, feeling lighter than I had in years. 9 months after the gala, Sophie called again. This time, her voice was different, stronger. Ryan, I wanted you to know something, Sophie said. I'm graduating early. Got accepted to college on a scholarship. I'm leaving next month. That's incredible, Sophie. I'm proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you, she said. Not just the money for Jay, but knowing that you got out, that you built something. It made me realize I could do it too. You were always strong enough, I said. Mom's getting help, Sophie continued. Therapy. She's trying. I don't know if she'll ever really change, but she's trying. Jay's doing better too. Probation, but he's working. Actually working. And you? I asked. I'm free, Sophie said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Just like you. We talked for a few more minutes, and then she said something that caught me off guard. Can I visit you sometime? Not now, but maybe after I settle into college. I'd like to meet Ryan Cooper. See who you became. I was quiet for a moment. Yeah, I said finally. I'd like that. After we hung up, I sat in my office overlooking the city. Gerald had made me a partner 6 months ago. We'd expanded into 4 states, developed dozens of properties, and built something real. I thought about the man I used to be. Daniel Hartley, the invisible husband, the punching bag, the ghost who lived in his own house. That man was gone. Not erased, but transformed. I'd learned something important. You can't save yourself by staying in a place that destroys you. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in quiet determination to become who you were always meant to be. Renee had spent 2 years searching shelters, hospitals, morgues. She'd hired investigators. She'd found nothing because I'd become a ghost with a purpose, and that purpose was to build a life worth living. I opened my laptop and started drafting plans for our next development, a mixed-use property in Charlotte. Residential, commercial, community spaces, a place where people could build lives. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. Just 2 words. Thank you. I smiled and got back to work. Daniel Hartley had disappeared, but Ryan Cooper was just getting started.